Great. Dr. Joel Conn from Pismo Beach Veterinary Clinic joins us this morning with tips on traveling with your pets. And in the commercial break, Patti and I were full of questions for you, so we should just take it away.
Well, I think, traveling with a pet, I think, is something that you should plan for, just like traveling with a young child or something like that, because I think, there's anxiety and stress issues with the pet, but as we kind of talked about with you guys, sometimes also for the owners. So there's a couple of quick tips that I think can make traveling with a pet easier, safer, and more comfortable for everyone involved. One is we recommend any animal that travel in a car be either crated or harnessed in some way so they're secure in the car, because if there's an accident, a sudden stop, that pet can easily get thrown, through a windshield or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's a major concern. The other thing is that pets that are just running around the car present a safety hazard for the driver and also get themselves very worked up. And I think that's what contributes in many cases to motion sickness, because they're moving so much. Mm-hmm. I think most people put their cats into crates, but a lot of people don't with their dogs. Mm-hmm. And so one thing you can do is look into getting a harness, a seatbelt harness, to secure a larger dog in the back seat. If you're traveling in a pickup truck, please make sure they're in a crate in the bed. Because even if they're tied up on a run, that's extremely dangerous. We see a lot of these animals every year that get injured. They fall out of the truck, they get dragged behind the vehicle. It can be really nasty. So a well-ventilated crate that's big enough for them to kind of move around in. And it's a really good idea to get them comfortable with it ahead of time. So feed them in it, give them treats, do some dry runs before you kind of commit to it.
Make it a fun place.
Yeah.
Make it a fun place.
Now, I did have another question about this, because I know a lot of people do this. I know a lot of dogs, like mine, seem to enjoy it. What about the head out the window? Bad idea?
Like that.
In theory, it probably is kind of a bad idea, for the same reason that you probably shouldn't stick your head out the window. I mean, they're flying bits of debris. I've heard cases, I don't know how true this is, of animals even becoming partially suffocated because they're not able to breathe with that oncoming breeze, and they don't always think to reel their head back in. So in general, keep that window up enough that maybe their tip of their nose can stick out. Just a nose. You want to work up to the trip gradually. Do some dry runs, as I said. Have your animal come into the car, give them a treat, just in your garage, and then go back into the house. Do that several times to really get them comfortable for it, because it's a very new experience if they've never done it before. And if you wait until that trip to the vet, it's always going to be associated with seeing the vet, which is not usually a great thing for the animal. And it's going to be a very stressful experience for you as well. Feeding and watering schedule, in general, you don't want to feed while you're on a trip. So do a small meal, several hours before the trip, and then feed when you get to your destination. Make sure you bring food the animal's used to, and water too. Sometimes water from a strange place can upset their stomach if they're not used to that taste or what's in the water.
Okay.
And then, of course, don't leave your pet unattended. Warm cars in particular, even on 70-degree days, can become ovens. On cold days, they can become freezers. So, even when the window's cracked, you want to plan for that. So one big thing that we come across with a lot of people is motion sickness.
Yes.
Yeah, Patti, you were saying your dog has a little bit of a barfing issue.
Yeah, he does.
And that's pretty common, and I think some of it is anxiety related, some of it is true motion sickness. We use things like meclizine, which is an over-the-counter motion sickness drug in people. Antihistamines can work in a pinch. They're not great, and actually there's some very new drugs that are prescription from your veterinarian that work amazingly well for motion sickness. And those things are good things to have on hand. I keep some in my glove box.
Just in case.
Just in case, because you want to have them ready for that trip.
And you can't ask them, like a child. So are you feeling nervous about the trip that we're on, or are you truly, feeling sick to your stomach? So you don't know what the cause of it.
That's true.
Just about any time we put our long-haired dachshund in the car with us, he vomits.
Yeah, and again, some of that's anxiety, too, so it's important to kind of differentiate, is it true motion sickness, and your vet can help you with this, or is it anxiety? Because we will also use anti-anxiety drugs. Anything that you give, though, needs to be given several hours in advance, usually, of the trip to be effective. So again, a little planning can go a long way.
Now, when you're talking about anxiety, are there other things other than drugs that you can do to help calm your pet in those situations?
There actually are a few things out there. There have been some studies done on some aromatherapy, things like lavender oil. that have actually shown to reduce anxiety and on road trips. So there are a few sort of natural things that you can try. depending on the level of the anxiety and motion sickness, I think we have variable success.
Right.
You got to try that. And then make yourself a pet traveling kit. If you're traveling across state lines, if you're going on air travel, you're probably going to want to have a health certificate, potentially. You definitely want to have vaccine records. A lot of vets these days have online access to your pets' vaccination records. We do at our clinic. But having a copy of that in your car handy is really, really important.
You need it.
And then make yourself a little kit, including a motion sickness drug, including maybe even some first aid supplies, food, water, all those kinds of things for your pet.
It's good to know. Good to plan ahead.
Yeah.
We learned that when we took a trip to Disneyland and brought our dogs. They have a kennel there, right, at Disneyland that you can take them to, so you don't have to leave them in the hotel room, which is nice. But you have to plan ahead because they don't let you just bring your dog without the proper documentation.
That's right.
Yes.
So,
of course, askthevet.com, that's the email where you can get your questions answered directly from Dr. Conn here. And as always, good information.